I'm talking about doing some social media shots with a big dress on the sidewalk, blocking people. Think about it, you wouldn't want a whole bunch of Italians coming to your front lawn and acting like it's Disneyland. Oh, there's a bus coming. Italy is one of the most beautiful and culturally rich countries in the entire world, and one where tourists can easily make mistakes that irritate the locals. We'll go over the biggest pet peeves Italian locals have with tourists and how you can avoid them. What's wrong with the way you're walking as a tourist here in Italy? Well, I'll get to that, but the first item I want to cover is loud and obnoxious behavior. It's a big no-no to touch artifacts, climb up on monuments, or leave litter anywhere here in Italy. There have been reports recently of tourists climbing into the Trevi fountain to cool off. I don't blame them, it is quite hot, but don't cool off in the Trevi fountain. That's one of Rome's sacred and important monuments. Don't be an idiot. Or a report recently of a female tourist climbing up onto an historic statue in the middle of the night in Florence, maybe had a bit too much to drink. I don't blame her. The wine's great here. Embracing it, kissing it, making lewd gestures. Come on, this is not Disneyland. My advice to you is keep it classy, not trashy. Italy is not a big frat party. And don't be one of those loud tourists. I've had to tell groups of tourists to keep it down. But we're all guilty of that, not just the Americans or the Brits when we travel abroad, even the Italians and others. When they're together in groups, we all get excited when we see new things and we want to share them with our friends and family, but perhaps we get a bit too loud. Italians value decorum, and although at times it seems like they're pretty loud and they're having heated discussions, they tend to speak quietly in public spaces, and they look down on and they see disrespectful, loud and obnoxious behavior. And think about it, you wouldn't want a whole bunch of Italians coming to your front lawn and acting like it's Disneyland, would you? Mispronouncing common words. Italians love it when you learn to speak their language or learn a few different phrases, but they do get frustrated when you mispronounce some of the basics. Just as you'd think maybe they should learn thanks and hello if they come to your country, consider how important it is to get the right pronunciation of some basics when you're here in Italy. So it's grazie, not gracias, or some other sort of variation of that.
Io sono Patrizia, benvenuta a Napoli.
Assuming everyone speaks English, that upsets the locals. Now it's true, in many of the big tourist cities, Rome, Milan, Venice, a lot of the locals, at least at the tourist shops, are going to speak English. But don't assume that, and always start off with the phrase, parli inglese, or if you want to be formal, and I don't think you need to be formal, you can go lei parla inglese, lei parla inglese. That's going to help out a whole lot. They're probably going to speak English, but they're going to appreciate that you made the effort. Another few phrases to keep in mind, buongiorno or buonasera. Both of those mean hello. It's a greeting. And you say buongiorno up until about 4 p.m. It kind of depends on which region you are in Italy. And buonasera after that in the evenings. We don't use buon pomeriggio for a greeting in the afternoon. Oh, there's a bus coming. And buonanotte, which means good night, we only use when we're saying good night to someone on the phone or before they go to the bedroom and go to sleep. So the key phrases there are buongiorno and buonasera, a greeting to say hello. Now, if you want to keep it simple and not think about the timings during the day, you can always just say salve, salve. And that simply means hello. Ciao? Should you say ciao? No. It's an informal thing and only used among friends and family here in Italy. So salve. Dressing inappropriately, that upsets the locals, especially at certain religious sites and monuments. Entering the big cathedrals, you're gonna need to cover up your shoulders and your knees. Even me, recently on a trip to Serbia, I went into this beautiful ancient Orthodox church. I was wearing shorts and that wasn't allowed. They gave me a little skirt that I could tie around my waist to cover myself up. Now, I don't blame you because it's hot here in Italy, and even I want to walk around in flip-flops and shorts all the time because it's summer, you're sweating. But just keep in mind where you're at and the situation you're in. It's become so bad in some towns, they've had to put in place laws. In Sorrento, they've banned wearing swimming suits in the city center because, as the mayor said, the locals felt uncomfortable seeing people walking around in a swimming suit. Could you imagine seeing someone walk up and down your street in a swimming suit in the middle of the city? Also in Venice, they've enacted the same law and banned bare chest walking around with no shirt. The fine is serious, up to €500. Just keep in mind, when in Rome, dress like the Romans, modest and respectful. If you make yourself too much at home in an Italian restaurant, you may upset the locals, and I'll explain that here in a moment. Stick with me. What does upset the locals is when you only consider the towns of Florence, Venice, and Rome as Italy. If you say, yeah, I've been to Italy, and all you talk about are the gondolas and the statue of David, I don't know if they're gonna think you've really been to Italy. Saying you've been to Italy and mentioning those places, well, it'd be like an Italian saying he's been to the United States and only having gone to New York City and Miami. There are so many more beautiful places in Italy than just Florence, Venice, and Rome. Think up in the north, cities like Bergamo, Verona, Bolzano up in the Dolomites, Modena in Emilia-Romagna, or down in the south, the city of stones, Matera, Tropea in Calabria, Cefalù in Sicily. You'll really enjoy these little towns, and you'll find many more bargains by visiting those places. Taking too much space for your social media photo shoots. Now, I don't blame you. It's great to go around and take photos, collect memories, and Italians love that you do that too. They love that you're enjoying their country and appreciating its beauty. It's when it goes too far, it becomes a problem. I'm talking about doing some social media shots with a big dress on the sidewalk, blocking people, just to get that perfect shot in front of an iconic spot that's been made popular on social media already by thousands before you. Or a family trying to gather everyone around while at the same time trying to wait for the perfect moment when none of the locals are passing in front of them so they can get the photograph. If you want those shots, go out early and get them. I see plenty of young couples out early in the morning getting their wedding photos. That's a great idea. Go early, plan it right. If you go late in the day or in the afternoon, it's gonna be crowded, and that's when you're gonna start to annoy people. When you start to block them on their way to work, getting on and off buses, or trying to get to the metro, you're gonna annoy the locals doing that. The problem's become such an issue that the famous coastal town of Positano has now issued a rule that says they will fine people who are lingering in certain popular areas that have been made popular on social media. They'll fine them $300. So think twice before you're going around and taking those photos. Think about your location and what you're doing. If you're enjoying this video and getting a lot of good value out of it, please do me a favor and click that like button down below. That helps out so much. Also, if you're not yet subscribed, what's wrong with you? Click that subscribe button down below. I see a lot of you aren't yet subscribed. By subscribing down below, you'll make sure you're not missing out on any of the upcoming content. Also, you're helping me grow this channel to a much wider audience, getting the videos out to other travel and food lovers like ourselves. Thank you. Now, you remember how I said how you walk may upset the locals? Well, what I mean by that is walking or wandering aimlessly in the city streets will definitely upset the locals. I'm not saying don't do it. These sidewalks in Italy are quite difficult to walk on. I often marvel at how the parents do it with their strollers, trying to get by on these little narrow sidewalks. The phrase in Italy is, sidewalks are like an obstacle course for the daring, but sharing is caring. I'm saying just be mindful, because even myself, I walk on the streets quite a lot. I'm doing so now, and when I'm out running, I do so because I don't want to twist my ankle trying to stay on one of these small sidewalks. It's impossible, but you need to be mindful when you're walking around. Don't just stand there looking around and not noticing the cars coming and going, or people on their bicycles, or the Vespas whizzing by. Remember, in Italy, these historic city centers are also places of business and residents. People need to get to and from their places by car or by bicycle, and if you're blocking them, you're gonna really annoy them. Eating only pizza and pasta. The locals aren't gonna like if you're doing that because they want you to enjoy their country, enjoy all of the culinary offerings it has, the diverse plates. If you're only coming here for the spaghetti alla carbonara and the pizza margherita, you'll make a big mistake. So branch out, and by branch out, I mean trying the arancini, those fried rice balls down in Sicily, the arrostoncini, the lamb skewers made famous in Abruzzo, risotto alla milanese, the rice from the Po Valley with a little bit of saffron, the ossobuco, the polenta, in Tuscany, the bistecca alla fiorentina, the panzanella, the bread salad, or the fritto misto, which you see on the coast. It's seafood and vegetables all fried up together, or the match made in heaven, prosciutto e melone, prosciutto and melon. Try stepping out of your pizza and pasta comfort zone. Your taste buds will thank you for it. Now, how would sipping a cappuccino upset the Italian locals? Well, hold on, I'll get to that. First, I want to let you know I'm putting out a regular email newsletter with all sorts of travel tips and hacks, things that you're seeing here on the channel, but also other things and news that you might not see here on the channel, information about where to travel and where to go. There's a link to sign up down below. So, acting like you're too much at home in a restaurant. Remember I said that could upset the locals? By that, what do I mean? Well, there are certain customs and traditions here in Italy that need to be respected. One is the opening hours of restaurants. Don't come to Italy thinking you're gonna get 24-hour service as you do back home. That's not the case here. They eat at particular times. For lunch, it goes from about 12:30 to 3:30. For dinner, well, you're not gonna be able to sit down for dinner until about 7 o'clock, 7:30, and you can dine as late as, say, 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the cities. And the other thing to consider, of course, are special requests. Remember, your special request might not be so special here in Italy. By that I mean, don't ask for strange substitutions, or don't even do substitutions at all. Imagine going to go order a plate of pasta alla carbonara and asking the chef to replace the guanciale with chicken or tofu. That's not done here. Tipping incorrectly, that's gonna upset the locals. In fact, don't tip. The customs here in Italy for tipping are much different than you'd find in the United States. They simply don't exist. If you want to tip, if you feel you need to tip, the only time I would say you should do so are at dinners. After a big dinner, what you can do is throw down some of that extra shrapnel, those euro coins that you have in your pocket, throw them down 1, 2, 3, 4 euro, and be done with it. And if you're presented with one of those credit card machines that say 5, 10, 15% on it when you go to pay with your card, they're starting to pop up here in Italy as well. Well, don't play that game. Select 0% and move on with your life. And remember when I said how sipping a cappuccino could upset some Italian locals? Well, it's complex, involves a cappuccino curfew. I made a whole deep dive video about it. Watch it here next.